One Piece chapter 1099. Wow. So we find out how Vegapunk got his hands on Kuma, and now like I'm looking at Vegapunk differently because it's like they say it, it's cliche, like the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And like the intentions were so good here. And then when you find out the circumstances that led to Kuma even agreeing to this, now it makes you see why Bonnie is so torn up and why she hates Vegapunk and why seeing all those pacifists are able to get under Bonnie's skin the way that it did. Like, oh my God, Oda. Oh man, he's hitting in the heartstrings, man. He's hitting in the heartstrings. Like, Wano had some moments like this where they kind of got you. Nah, this gets you. This absolutely gets you because he's playing up the whole thing about a father and the sacrifice. And, it's one of those things where, again, like I didn't have a father growing up. My father chose drugs over me. And, like, it's one of those things where, like, I would like to think that if I had children of my own, that I would sacrifice anything in order to give them a better life because I never had a father that would do that for me. And so it's one of those things where, like, I see where Kuma's coming from, but man, to see how such a honorable intention ended up going sideways, it hurts. It hurts because you see how this goes. So backing things up though, because there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to unpack here. Like, wow, these last two chapters have been pretty long for reviews, at least by my standards. So we open up where we have Kuma being told he's done enough. You see all like the fires and everything raging. And essentially Kuma has been battling back the forces to defend against the king and how the king has been trying to burn everybody. And he's been leading the resistance, and Kuma steps forward and ends up running off the king. And I like how you get the line where Bonnie's like, Dad is such a chicken. I hope that he's safe. And it's like she doesn't realize how strong her father is. And it just shows that, again, from a child's perspective, there's so many sides to your parents that you don't see because your parents will hide stuff from you for your own good. And so what I like about this is how Kuma ended up taking down the Sorbet Kingdom himself in order to protect it. And all the people in the kingdom are begging for him to become the king. And so we transfer over where you see Saturn get brought up to speed on it. He's like, what do you mean there's a new king? And that goes back to like, the five elders, they monitor the stuff that's going on. And so you see more and more about how Kuma is slowly getting onto the radar of the world government, and particularly getting onto the radar of the five elders and Saturn. And we see how King Bulldog is being brought into the fray and kind of ease into our consciousness so we can see where this is going. But when we turn the page and we get to see Bonnie and she's in her adult form, like when I saw that, like I went, whoa, like she grew. And it's like, it's because of the devil fruit. But it's one of those things where for a second I had to pause and catch myself and say, did we go to a time skip? But then I'm like, oh, that's right, because of what's going on with her body and everything, how she's able to age herself from being a small child to being in her adult form to being an old woman. It's like, okay, this makes sense here. But I had to catch myself, man. Now that I know I aged, like I was about to start simping. I said, man, I can't do that, man. FBI gonna come knock on the door like, go to jail. It's one of those things like, I wish Oda didn't do that. I wish Oda didn't do that, man. But like, keeping it real though, because I don't want to say some questionable comments, man. But like, what I like about this is that we see how Bonnie, out of her desire, and this is so cute. This is so cute. So out of her desire to want to go see the world at sea and get old enough to be able to travel the seas with her father. She's in that 20-year-old form. The same age that she told her father that they would go to Sky Island. She's running around there. And you can tell it's triggered off of her emotions. And everyone's like, oh my God, she looks just like Jenny. And Kuma, for a second, thinks he's seeing Jenny. And like, when I went back and I compared, you can see there's a lot of overlap there. So like, she could pass as her mother's twin. And when Bonnie ends up looking in the mirror, she realizes, like, oh my God, I've gotten bigger. And Kuma immediately is like, when did you eat a devil fruit? And like, that's the question I have is like, when did she eat a devil fruit? Like, that's the big thing there. Like, when did she eat it? And like, the old man's going through and he's looking through the notebook and everything. He said, well, there is a age fruit, but where did she get it? And like, that's the next question. Where did she get the age fruit? And you see how she's trying to get older on command. And you see that like they're testing what she can do. She turns into a wrinkly old woman at one point. Then we see how Bonnie's like, it's not working. It's too hard to get older. King Bulldog shows up, and like we get the moment where Bonnie's referred to as a princess. Like everything starts clicking at this point. Everything starts making sense. And we see some of the propaganda with the world government where they're saying that Kuma is a dictator. And so now all the different lines we've been hearing from different people talking about Kuma, now we see the truth behind it. Like I was thinking, oh man, this dude was like a super evil warlord, but like Bonnie was like, they're lying. And now we see like Bonnie was right. I thought like, yo, like maybe this just comes down to like children can't see like the evil that their parents do. Children have blinders when it comes to their parents. Now we see like there was actually something to that, man. So I like seeing that bit, and I like how the world government is just starting to plant the seeds. And King Bulldog is letting them know, like, Bakuri, the former king, he's coming, and he's got the world government on his side. And Kuma's like, I wish he would come. If he sets foot in this country again, he's gonna pay for it. And like when the Navy shows up and King Bakuri's like, yo, like, that's the guy that stole everything from me, make him pay. I like how the narrator just says, naturally, Kuma sank all the ships. And you see how he's getting the reputation that he got and why he would eventually become one of the warlords. We get to see the line where he tells Bulldog, I need you to be king in my place. I need you to raise Bonnie for me, take care of her, look over her. He says, I'm going to come back for you when I can. And it's just so heartbreaking how we see the bounty for him, and we see how he's getting all these things said about him, how there are people trying to cash in on his bounty. He's going from place to place to place, looking for a cure for his daughter, anyone who can tell him what he needs to do. And the whole time we're going through this, I'm going like, oh man, so this is where we're getting to Vegapunk. I can feel it. Vegapunk is coming. And sure enough, when Kuma ends up stumbling across Dragon's ship, that's exactly what happens. Dragon, they start toasting, they start drinking and everything. And he says like, you've had one hell of a life, my friend. I told you to live well. Live without regrets. But wow, like, man, you basically, since last time I saw you, you became a king, then you became a tyrant, and now you're a pirate. Hey, don't worry about it, fam. We didn't believe none of that shit that they were saying because we knew it was just world government propaganda. And when Betty's like, hey, I want to take over for the Eastern Forces, and Kuma's like, why you need to ask me? I like how Dragon, again, you see more of the character. We find out that Dragon has been keeping that position strictly in Jenny's name. And he won't name it to anyone until Kuma gets to say so. And so I did like seeing that right there. Like it just shows like Dragon has a solid understanding of the people that are underneath him. And you can see some of Luffy's character in him like that. That feels like something that Luffy would have done. And so we transfer over and we see how after Dragon tells Kuma about Vegapunk, we see that he's gone to go get Bonnie, and he says like, hey, we're going to visit a doctor for one final checkup before your disease is healed. And the place that they're going is what would now be known as Egghead, which will explain how Bonnie knew how to get there. And you have the moments where like there's the comedy there where like Vegapunk's like, I've never seen anyone like you before. And then Kuma's like, I've never seen anyone like you before. And then Bonnie's like, I've never seen anyone with a head that looks like yours. Like, that's going to be hilarious when that's animated. But what I like here is that like Vegapunk cuts right to the chase when they're alone. And he's like, man, I've never seen anybody with your muscles like that. You absolutely have to be a buccaneer. And he's like, look, I can take care of your daughter. She's going to survive. You did a very good job managing the illness like this to keep it off for so long. I'm going to use stem cell research and transplanting in order to treat her. It's going to cost the same thing it's going to make it's gonna cost the same amount of wood to make someone a cyborg, and like Kuma's like, oh, she's gonna be a cyborg, and you can tell like the wheels are rattling, which like a cyborg is not an android. Like I have to say it's like 100 times on Naruto explain, because like people still don't grasp like android, fully robotic, cyborg means human with mechanical enhancements. And so it's the same thing here. And so Kuma's like, is my daughter gonna be a cyborg thing? And Vegapunk says, no, 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 no. You didn't hear me correctly. I said it would cost as much it would take to make her into a cyborg, but we can make a deal. So I'm with the world government. I know that you're a buccaneer. And Kuma says, like, I have no problem telling you that that's my lineage, because if Dragon trusts you, then I trust you as well. So basically what he says is like, hey, like, you're gonna allow me to make clones out of you. And I just need samples of your blood and I can make clones. And when he asks, what are you going to do with those clones? He says, like, look, like what I have envisioned are mighty warriors from the future. They're going to save lives. They're going to be shields that will start protecting the people of the public. And I'm going, oh boy, the path to hell's paved with horrible intention or good intentions. And that's what we're seeing here. This has a horrible, horrible situation, because Vegapunk never intended for those Pacifist clones, those cyborgs, to be murdering machines. When he talks about how they're going to shoot laser beams, it's only meant to subdue, not to destroy. Saturn hears all that shit, and Saturn's like, yo, I don't give a damn what he's saying. He's wasting this opportunity. This ain't going down like this. We are going to make a weapon, the hell he's got to say. And we end off with Vegapunk getting the idea of what to name the pacifist after, because Kuma says that he is a pacifist. Oh, this is beautiful, man. This is beautiful writing. Like, it's heartbreaking, but it is such beautiful writing, man. So my chapter question to you guys, man, like, how do you guys feel about Saturn now? Like, I'm starting to hate this dude. Like, I didn't like him to begin with, but I'm starting to hate him now. Because, like, you see what he took away. That's what hurts the most. You see what he took away from Bonnie, man. That is so foul. But, so always, guys, you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching. Until the end, have an awesome day, guys.